as was just said, I'm Amanda Gland. I'm representing history. And I wrote my thesis on smallpox in 18th century America. The reason why I chose this is because with how the world is today with biological terrorism and stuff such as that, I thought it was interesting to kind of go with a disease that had profoundly affected the history of the United States. So, on May 8th, 1980, the World Health Assembly announced that smallpox had been eradicated from the world. This was great because smallpox, especially in the 18th century, wreaked havoc on populations. So I'm going to start with a little background on smallpox itself. I also did not create a PowerPoint because I tend to scare people with my pictures. So I decided to spare everybody. Okay. Smallpox is believed to have first appeared around 10,000 BC in North Africa. Evidence has been found on Egyptian mummies from the 18th and 20th dynasties, which was 1570 to 1085 BC. Egyptians have also found that Pharaoh Ramses V died from smallpox in 1157 BC. The disease is thought to have been brought to the Americas by Hernando Cortez in 1520, which caused the death of millions of Aztec Native Americans. Inoculation, which is the insertion of a disease into an open wound and causes a less severe case of the illness, and also leads to a lifelong immunity, is thought to have originally been practiced in India as early as 1000 BC. Inoculation would become one of the most important developments in medicine at the time. And the tale of how it came to the American colonies is very long and strange, yet it brought about one of the greatest medical advancements of the time. In 1760, Greek physicians Emmanuel Timonius and Jacobus Planarium were practicing medicine in Constantinople, which is in Turkey, and they wrote to the Royal Society of London an article about the advantages of inoculation, which they had seen performed in Constantinople. This article is thought to be where Lady Mary Whately Montagu got her original inspiration for the practice of inoculation on her children. So I'm going to give you a little background on her because she plays a huge role in how inoculation came to the American colonies. She was born in 1698 to a rich family in England, and she married Edward Wortley Montagu in 1712, which is when she became a lady. She was a favorite at court of the Princess of Wales, and that would also prove to be very important. Her brother William died in 1713 from smallpox, and she herself contracted the disease 2 years later, leaving permanent scars on her face and an inability to grow eyelashes. In 1716, her husband was appointed ambassador to Turkey, and they moved to Constantinople. 1718, she has her son Edward inoculated without ever having seen the practice performed before or knowing what the results would be. He made it through perfectly, and she decided to have her youngest daughter inoculated as well. Shortly after, her husband is recalled back to England, and they move back to London, where she resumes her position at court with the Princess of Wales. Because of her experience with inoculation in Constantinople, she tries to convince the princess that she needs to have her daughters inoculated. But before the princess will agree to do this, she's like, all right, give me some Newgate prisoners, we'll test it on them first. If they survived, they were released. So the experiments proved successful, and the princess had all of her children inoculated. By doing this, it kind of brought attention to the practice, and people all over England wanted to start to do it as well. And Lady Mary was kind of the big promoter of the procedure. So at around the same time that Lady Mary returned to England, in Boston, Cotton Mather had obtained a copy of the Royal Society's publication. I'm sure all of you guys have heard of Cotton Mather. He was a very important Puritan minister in Boston at the time. And upon reading the article and having never seen the procedure performed, he decided to recommend inoculation to the Boston physicians. As I said, he was a Puritan minister, and he held a very high position in Boston society at the time. And he was also very influenced by the Bible and how God would feel on certain medical issues. American colonists also did not understand viruses or diseases and how they worked, and therefore did not understand the technicalities of the procedure being performed. They also did not understand the concept of immunity and lifelong immunity that comes after you suffer a disease and survive, such as smallpox.